releasing your superpowers. No other than Miss Jacqueline Kelly. Welcome, Miss Jacqueline, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yes, I am Jacqueline Kelly, and I'm a strength and conditioning coach and a mental performance coach. I started with strength and conditioning, and then when I felt as though I was missing people or couldn't communicate with people, I went back to school to get my master's in sports psychology. And then I wanted to be good. I wanted to be good at what I was doing the second that I graduated. So I took certifications in sleep and stress management and recovery. And I went to sports hypnosis school. So that's what I live and breathe.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Jacqueline. Thank you. And today let's talk about mind over scoreboard. Mental hacks that you give to elite athletes you can steal in 10 minutes. Oh, I like that, Miss Jacqueline. So tell us, mind over scoreboard is a powerful. Beyond just winning, what does a true win for the mind look like, even when the physical scoreboard might show loss?
Mm. Yeah, such a good question. And I think whether you're an athlete or not, we've all experienced that. I think under pressure of time, right?
Yes.
Learning the concept of staying where your feet are, meaning
Mm-hmm.
that we have to stay in the process. Obviously, I believe all of us are concerned about the outcome, but if we can stay in the moment, in the process, and do all the things that we've practiced for such a long time, not only does it create a flow, but a peace and a success. Um, I also think if the scoreboard doesn't go in your favor, you're also able to debrief afterwards a little better if you were able to stay where your feet are and in the process to be able to recover from those mistakes and fix them before your next match or whatever speech, whatever it is that you're doing.
Yes, definitely. And Miss Jacqueline, why are so many of these powerful mental techniques something an athlete can steal in 10 minutes? Thus, their speed is simplicity contradict the idea of mental toughness. Takes years to build.
Yeah, right. I think we're such doers. We all think that we have to be doing this and doing that and eating this and knowing the latest and greatest technique or technology or whatever, when it is probably the most important to become our own best friend, our own advocate, and to slow down and be peaceful. And that all happens in the mind, that it's not always about doing more,
Hmm.
maybe doing less.
Doing less, yes, definitely. And you work with elite athletes who are physically at the peak of their game. What is the most common mental gap you see that even they struggle with?
Mm, definitely emotional regulation. um, right? Getting too up or too down, right? Finding that place where they can have the energy, the motivation, the confidence to do what it is that they need to do, and to be able to stay there. Where, you know, not every day do you feel motivated and ready to go, but an elite athlete, once they get to that place, it doesn't matter if they feel confident or motivated, they have to do it anyway. So how do they manage their emotions?
How to manage the emotions is very important, people.
Mm.
On specific techniques and hacks, can you walk us through one specific concrete 10-minute hack from your toolkit that anyone can use to instantly calm the nerves before a high pressure situation?
Mm. I mean, I think it's very individual. What works for you might not be work for me, but I think universal standard is breathing and diaphragmatic breathing. When you really inhale and sort of blow up your belly and then exhale and make yourself feel like you're really skinny, like you've blown out all the air, you're able to activate the vagus nerve and get out of fight or flight and into rest and digest, even if it's just for a few seconds. Um, but once you do it once or twice, you feel instantaneous relief. Now, I don't know how long that lasts, how much time you have to practice it, but as you continue to practice, then you get better and better, and it becomes something really familiar. And then you can spend even less time doing it.
Miss Jacqueline, many athletes talk about being in the zone. Is this random state of grace, or is it something you can teach people to trigger on demand, or if so, how?
Mm. I think that first time that you feel it and you really know what somebody's talking about, maybe random, graceful period of your time, but I do think that you can train it, again, by training yourself to stay in the process, right? Whether we're talking about a skier or a golfer or whatever, they have practiced so many hours and for so many years. And what usually gets in the way is the pressure of the event, or, wanting something so bad. So if they're able to stay where their feet are, I believe they can get to that flow and they can stay there by using whatever techniques, right? Like maybe breathing works really well for you, but maybe meditating or having a power word or a mantra works better for me. But as you continue to develop these skills, you go into every practice and every event having a plan for getting to your flow state as quickly as you can, and then having the skills to get back to there.
What a kind of skills indeed, Miss Jacqueline. What's a simple mental reframing technique you teach to help an athlete stop seeing anxiety as a threat and start using it as a fuel?
Um, I think I hate to keep repeating myself, but if you really are grounded in the moment, right? Just staying right here, right now, no shouldas, no wouldas, no couldas.
Hmm.
I think that that is the one of the best and most important places to start training yourself. So that then you can get to all the places that we talked about, right? The winning scoreboard and the peacefulness and the flow. Um, but we have to practice these skills, I believe, as much, if not more, than we're practicing our our event also.
On a, on the application for everyday life, Miss Jacqueline, let's make this practical for someone who will never step on a professional field. How can a salesperson about to make a big pitch or a student about to make an exam use the same performance routine as a star quarterback?
Mhm. Well, I think the diaphragmatic breathing, right? Being in the know on how we get from fight or flight to rest and digest. So if you're really nervous walking into the office or getting ready to take a test, if you can get from that fight or flight, that nervous feeling, you definitely would be more successful. But I think having um, a space, right? Giving yourself a space to reframe what it is, right? If it's something that's really meaningful to you, I imagine you've probably spent quite a bit of time, whether it's getting ready to take a test or do a presentation. So reminding yourself of the road that you've been on there to get there, and you're probably really prepared. So being able to talk to ourselves, but not listen to that sort of mean voice in our head. Our brain is very responsive to us making commands. So taking the time to take that breath and then talking to yourself, using that self talk, to remind yourself of who you are and what it is that you're about to attempt.
Miss Jacqueline, one of the biggest challenge for people is a critical inner voice. What is the most effective technique for changing the channel on the negative internal commentary in under a minute?
Mm. I think in my career, the most valuable thing that I have taught people is to be able to say either to yourself or out loud the second that you catch yourself listening to that voice, to literally say stop, delete, and cancel. And it's catchy. You say it, and the second that you said stop, delete, and cancel, your brain recognizes that you've made a command and it's ready for the next command. And you can't multitask, nor can your brain. So if you're telling it something, you can't listen to that voice. So you're able to stay on top of it.
Miss Jacqueline, as a coach, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
What are my short term and long term goals?
Yes, please.
Mm.
Hmm.
Short term, I would say to be really good at all the things I'm telling you to do. So practice what I preach. Short term for sure.
Hmm.
Um, Long term, I have some pretty lofty career goals. I'm right now writing a book. I started an online program called Unfragile, and I'm writing the book with a publishing company right now, and I'm pretty excited about that. I'm hoping that people understanding that you can choose to be unfragile once you learn all the skills, um, that it can reach a population of young to old, and we can all find more peace and happiness.
Peace and happiness for sure. Good luck to your goals, Miss Jacqueline, and looking forward for more success. And
Thank
what
you.
would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be a coach like you?
Mm. To definitely, I think that finding a really good master's program in sports psychology is probably where you start. So you have the foundation, and then building those certifications and skills like I did with the sleep and the stress management and recovery and the sports hypnosis, whatever it is that you're interested in, allows you to have that foundation to be able to better help people and to share your knowledge.
Mhm. Yes, definitely share no knowledge. Thank you for that advice, Miss Jacqueline. And can you please recommend a book or books that influenced your journey?
Probably, I read this book myself and to all four of my children when they were younger would be The Four Agreements. I talk to my clients about the four agreements, and then probably my second, far second, because the four agreements is so amazing, would be the Mind Gym. Um, Definitely. Oh, and one more, probably in my career, and what I use the most when working with elite athletes is probably Heads Up Baseball.
Okay, thank you for that recommended books, Miss Jacqueline. So, in the workplace, we often face long, grueling season of projects, not just a single game, but how can your principles help someone maintain mental stamina over the kind of a long haul?
Mm. I think, early on in strength and conditioning, we train what we call periodization. So depending on your season, in off season, preseason. But I think in life too, if you are doing a nice job of goal setting, whether that is, weekly, quarterly, you do it once a year, and then be able to hold yourself accountable to those goals, making sure they're measurable. You've put an end date to them, you've said them out loud to somebody, but also being able to pivot and be adaptable, right? Give ourselves grace. But we have to have a guide, a lighthouse, a shining light that pushes us each day in the direction. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to fall off track.
Yes, definitely. And so on the psychology and mindset, Miss Jacqueline, you see athletes in the most vulnerable after a devastating loss. How do you say in the moment that helps them separate their self-worth from their performance?
Mm. I think I've probably learned this the hard way, because I'm a fixer. So, I want to say something or do something and make somebody feel better right away. But I think the most valuable thing I have to offer now that I understand is to just give them the space without any judgment to be and do. Like I used to say, like we don't cry after we lose to like my high school athletes or something. And, that we're composed and we're stoic. And I definitely learned from my athletes that showing that emotion. So I don't think there's any magic thing to say or do. It really is giving them the space to be and feel whatever it is that they need to feel with no judgment.
With no judgment at all.
Mhm.
Yes. And Miss Jacqueline, is confidence something you find or something you build through action? What's a tiny action someone can take today to start building that confidence muscle?
Mm. So lots of people say that confidence is just a feeling. Um, I think it is a feeling, but I also think it encompasses other things. But I think the number one thing we need to do is start telling ourselves, right? Again, command our brain, um, to be confident. Start by telling ourselves that we are confident, and then usually the three things that we need to have confidence, other than telling ourselves and using effective self talk, would be to have a support system, and be around possibly like-minded people who are trying to accomplish something similar can really help with our confidence.
How do you help an athlete stop joking? Is it about thinking less or thinking differently?
Mm, um, that's a good question. When you ask that question, I think of like the yips in golf.
Hmm.
For sure. I mean, there certainly can be so much overthinking that you've sort of changed your technique and you're doing something different that maybe you don't realize. So I do think technique, tactical things do need to be, um, the part of the conversation. But again, not to beat a dead horse, I think we have to get out of the fight or flight and get to the rest and digest so we can see that specific moment where our feet are, what the facts are right there, then in that moment. Is it something that we're doing that we can fix, or is it something that we need to relax and, lessen our muscle tension and get our breathing back to where it needs to be and get back to the flow?
What role does self talk play, and what's the difference between ineffective positive affirmations and powerful self talk you advocate for, Miss
Mm.
Jacqueline?
I like to talk about positive self-talk, but I think it's easier to explain if we talk about what's effective and what's ineffective, right? We could be saying sort of something kind of harsh or negative to ourselves, but it might be motivating. So maybe in the gym, you've got your heaviest lift coming up, and you need to yell ugly words at yourself internally to get riled up enough to lift that heavy weight. So I think effective, and in knowing the difference between effective and ineffective self-talk. I imagine that all of us have some pretty ineffective self-talk throughout the day. So creating an awareness first for what your self-talk looks like and feels like is really important. But really remembering that it doesn't necessarily have to be positive. Trevor Moad, a leader in our field, talks about, staying neutral. So you don't have to be crazy positive. Don't go crazy negative. Let's stay a little bit more neutral. And I think in that neutrality, again, we are less in that fight or flight.
On the personal journey and a broader impact, what initially drew you specifically to the mental side of performance? Was there a personal aha moment that set you on this path?
Mm. I played basketball in college, and I just struggled maybe with who I was, and did was part of this group called Fellowship for Christian Athletes, and it was just such a great place to talk and learn things about your faith. And when I got older and owned my own gym, um, it I was drawn to sports psychology to sort of fulfill that same thing, but not to bring religion into it. Not because I'm not religious, but because I didn't want to discriminate against anybody else. So I
Hmm.
think probably that was the moment.
Definitely. That's the moment, Miss Jacqueline. Of all the mental hacks you teach, is there one you personally use most often in your own life?
Mm. um, I I meditate,
Mm-hmm.
every day before I get out of bed, so that's probably one of the most consistent things I do. I'm a little bit hot-headed, my children might tell you that, so I think it allows me to stay more calm, and make better decisions throughout the day, and then I listen to a lot of music. We haven't talked about that, but music can be a huge, motivator or a mood stabilizer. So, right, if I'm not energized enough before I've got to go present or work with an athlete, then maybe it is a higher beat music. And if I'm a little bit too riled up before I'm, of course, want to do my best, then maybe it's something a little more low key.
Miss Jacqueline, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in third season, and food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 our fourth season, Science 101, Sex 101, second season. I'm a baby podcast, Law 101, and Mental Health 101, and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Jacqueline, if you could get every person to master just one of these mental hacks, which one would you have the biggest ripple effect on their life and why?
Mm. To just stop ruminating, stop moving, and roll your shoulders back and take a big deep breath and count to 10 and repeat as many times as you need to till you feel better. And better for everybody is different, but until you feel better in that moment, I believe would be life changing.
Life changing it is. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Jacqueline. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Hmm. Yes, you can find me on the my website is kellyperformanceandwellness.com, and you can see what I'm up to and what podcasts I've been on, and then you can follow the Unfragile program, and then you'll know when the book comes out.
Yes, definitely looking forward for that book, Miss Jacqueline, and please do come over and let's talk about it. Yes, people, less about Miss Jacqueline Kelly because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy to come and more empowering books to come. So, Miss Jacqueline, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Modicon people, see you soon.